There's a number I want you to picture. Not mine, yours. Maybe you found it doing your proper monthly review. Maybe it was just a glance at your banking app on a Tuesday night. Either way, at some point recently, you saw it. The money that was left over after the bills, after the reserve is topped up. The money that's supposed to be building something. And you did what most careful people do with that money. Nothing. Not because you're careless. The opposite. Because you didn't want to get it wrong. Because I will sort it out when I have done more research. Felt like the reasonable thing to say. So it sits there in your current account, in an easy access saver, waiting for you to feel ready. Here's the thought this whole episode starts from. That money already has a job. You gave it one. Reinvest. What it doesn't have is a home. And money without a home doesn't build. It waits. At the end of the last episode, From Earners to Life CFO, we said that once your monthly review becomes a rhythm, it will keep surfacing a number with nowhere to live. And that's when it did. We did talk about what kind of home this exists for. That is the conversation we're having right now. If you remember the wealth ladder, cash flow, surplus, asset, freedom, we spent this series climbing it. Today, the third step, light up. That's the asset. The question this episode answers is the one the whole series has been working towards. What should I actually build? Now let's get into it. You don't pick an investment, you pick a home. Now before a single product gets named, one reframe. Most people think the task is picking investment. It isn't. Not first. First, you pick homes. Because every pound of invested surplus needs two decisions made before it. And almost everyone collapsed them into one. Decision 1. Where does it live? That's the home. Decision 2. What does it becomes when it's there? The asset. Two decisions, not one. And the single most expensive confusion in personal finance is mixing them up. Now let's talk about the confusion that stalls everyone. You may have heard the question. You may have asked yourself, should I open an ISA or invest in an index fund? The question sounds sensible, but it's like asking, should I buy a house or buy furniture? One is a container, the other is what goes inside. An ISA is not an investment, an ISA is a home with particular tax treatment written into the wall. A pension is not an investment either. It is different home, different rules on the door. Index funds are not a home at all. They are one of the things that can live inside either. The reason most capable people freeze at this step isn't that the landscape is complicated. It is that nobody ever shows them the maps with the homes and the furniture drawn separately. So let's show you the map. It's the map of a street. Call it your investment street. 4 homes on it. We'll walk it calmly, one at a time. But before you get into that street, it has a gate at the entrance. You can call it a checkpoint. Because investment don't have a hole that isn't building. It's decorating a house before foundations are set. 2 checks. That's all the gate is. First, let's look at the expensive debt. This is not the mortgage. I mean the expensive kind. Credit cards, overdraft, anything charging double-digit interest rate. Look at the interest on that balance. That number is a guaranteed loss running every single month, regardless of what the stock market is doing. And nothing on today's map can promise you more than the balance is definitely costing you. Which means clearing your expensive debt is before investment. It is actually investing itself, with returns you already know in advance. Second check is the reserve. We named this in a 3-job episode. 3 to 6 months of essential cost of living, put aside into somewhere boring, separate, accessible. This is why it comes before any home on the map. Without a reserve, the emergency gets funded from these homes or investment. The locked ones won't open. The flexible one will, at exactly the wrong time, selling assets, whatever price has been given to you or offered to you. And some call that distress sales. A reserve is the opposite of investing. A reserve is what makes staying invested possible. Expensive debt down at a level you have chosen on purpose. Reserve in place. Then, and only then, the gates open. The first home is the pension. Think of it as the locked home. And the lock is the whole point. The rule on the door is generous on the way in. Money paid in gets immediate tax relief. In plain English means some of what you have paid in taxes goes into this home with it. Within limits, of course. And it sticks on the way out. The door stays locked until access age. Currently, you are late 50s. In business language, this is long-term capital, not working capital. It's money your future self owns, doing this home building where your present self can't interrupt it. That's the trade-off. You give up access in exchange. You get the most generous entry terms of any homes on this map. And yet, here's the number worth hitting with. Around 1 in 10 people enrolled in a workplace pension opt straight back out, declining the generous entry terms, declining the contribution that employers was ready to make alongside theirs. And nearly half of working age adults are putting nothing into pensions at all. The most generous door on this map is the one most people walk past. The second home on this map is the ISA, and let's be precise here because there's more than one kind. The one that belongs on this map is the stock and share ISAs, the flexible home. The rule on this door runs the other way. Nothing extra gets added in terms of tax relief. You fund it from your home money that you already paid taxes on, up to a set amount set each tax year. But once inside, whatever that money grows is left alone by the taxman, and the door out open whenever you need it. No locks, no access age. This is the home for money that's building, but that a nearer version of you might need it. The version with the house move, the career break, the year you finally start the business. Less generous at the door than the pensions, far more forgiving if life changes its mind. You did think of this home would be something that's full. It isn't. In the UK, nearly twice as many people owns a cash ISA than a stock and shares ISA. And in the last tax year alone, roughly 2/3 of money flows into an ISA account went straight into cash. And this isn't a British problem. Across Europe, households keep around 40% of financial wealth sitting in an ordinary bank account, despite years of government incentives designed to move it. The flexible home is open. Most of the money, however, is standing outside. Now notice what we haven't said yet. Nothing about what actually lives in these homes. Because here's a quiet failure case. A pension full of cash and ISA full of cash are just expensive cupboards. The home matters, but the asset inside is what builds wealth. And the asset most investors eventually settle on is the least dramatic one on the shelf: index fund. Instead of trying to pick which company will win, a game even professionals lose more often than they like to admit. An index fund buy you a slice of all of them. Hundreds of companies, sometimes thousands, in one purchase at a low cost. It is not designed to beat the market, it's designed to beat the market. It is boring, deliberately an asset that's actually asking nothing of you other than patience. The third home is the one your family already believes in. Properties, the heavy one. It deserves its own description because it actually gets a romantic one. Rental property is not a passive asset. A rental property is a small business. It has customers, your tenants. It has maintenance, empty months, regulations that keeps evolving. It will ring you on a Sunday. The door rules to this particular home are heavy in both directions. Expensive to enter because you're going to need a deposit, fees, you will pay taxes. Slow to exit, months, not minutes to sell up. What you get for all that weight is an asset you can stand in front of. I understand this means a lot to a lot of people, and the ability to actually borrow money to control something larger than your surplus alone could buy. It is important to state that borrowed money magnifies the downside too, and the mortgage still needs to be paid when the properties are empty. And here's the strange part. I'm talking about the pensions and ISA. But this home, property, is what gets killed for. More than half of England landlords describe their buy-to-let as their pension. Around 1.5 million of these properties sit with retirement age households. Even now, with the cost of the door rising, the landlord's share of homes purchased at its lowest in nearly 2 decades, this remains the home the whole family believes in, by default. That's not a verdict. Some people run their small business brilliantly. It's just a description, the hard truth that you leave out when you're having a conversation with your friends. The fourth home on this map is business ownership. And notice this is not the same as index fund. An index fund hands you silver of thousands of companies. Ownership spreads so thin, it asks nothing of you other than patience. This home is the concentrated kind. One business, a mindful stake, ownership with your name on it. For a business owner, sometimes the most productive home for your surplus is actually investing in your own business. The hire that frees up your time, the system that removes you from the process, the capability that lets you charge differently. For others, it is stake in someone else's business. Higher risk, hard to sell in a hurry, and resting less on the market than on a handful of people. This home has its widest range of outcome on the map. It builds the most and it loses the most, which is exactly why it belongs on the map, drawn honestly next to the others. So that's the street, two homes with tax reliefs. The quiet asset that lives inside them, the heavy home, the concentrated one. That's the whole map. And let's wind the clock forward. There are two versions of you. 10 years from now, they part ways at the number from the start of the episode. The first version gave the money an address, nothing clever, a boring asset inside a boring home with a standing order behind it. Then they stopped looking at it because the monthly review looks for them. The second version kept meaning to do it, reading articles, watching videos, even some of mine, waiting to feel certain, waiting to feel comfortable. 10 years later, the first version owns an asset with a decade of compounding behind it. The second version still has the money, the same number plus a little interest, minus 10 years of rising price quietly eating through it. And here's why the second version never noticed. Nothing visible left the bank account. No loss appeared on any statement. The money still remains, growing with interest, which is what makes the most expensive kind of loss there is. Waiting feels like safety, but waiting is a position too. You're holding cash, you just haven't said it out loud. And if 10 years sounds a little abstract, let's make it £300 a month over 30 years. £300 a month over 30 years is £180,000 of surplus paid in pound for pound in an easy access savings account. At that sort of rate, cash tend to hand, it becomes somewhere near £150,000. Give the same £300 a month an asset to live in, going at let's say about 5% a year. That's an illustration, not a promise. It becomes roughly about £250,000, a gap of about £100,000. Same money, same years, different address. And that's the quiet details hidden inside the first number. The savings pot grew more slowly than the price tend to rise, measured in today's spending power. It's worth even less than £108,000 that went in. 30 years of diligent savings that arrived worth less than it cost. You don't have to know everything. You have to give the money an address. Now I can't tell you which homes of this map is yours. Nobody on YouTube can. When the decisions get big enough, especially when it comes to pensions, a regulated advisor earns their fees. That is not the disclaimer from me, that's the system working. But I can give you the 3 questions that collapses most of the confusion. 1. When you need the money back? The sooner you need it, the more the answers looks like cash. The longer you can stay put, the more it can afford to be an asset. 2. Which door rule suited? Locked with generous entry or flexible and sheltered? The third question, and this is the honest one, will I actually leave it alone? Because the map only works if you know yourself. The best home on paper is the wrong home if you're going to rate the money every 18 months. 3 questions asked once in your monthly review. That's how a number with nowhere to live gets an address. Before you go, I have a question for the comment. How long has the waiting money been waiting? Give me a number in months, no judgment. Mine waited for longer than I did like to admit. The answer you leave often become future episodes. And if this series has become something that influenced your thinking, subscribe. It has been built one episode at a time in order on purpose. This is what today's deliberately didn't do. Today was the map, and the map is the same for everyone. The route is not. And what your investment looks like for someone with £200 a month of surplus is totally different for someone with £2,000 of surplus. and getting that wrong in either direction cost you years. So in the next episode, which is going to be a longer one, it needs to be, we're going to walk through stage by stage what changes as your surplus grows and the mistake waiting at each rung. Same map, your route. And one last thing, if this is the first episode of mine that you're watching, today would have made so much sense if you have watched the video before. From earnings to live CFO, the monthly rhythm, the whole conversation rests on. Your life is already a business. The only question is, are you actually running it like one? See you on the next one.